What's up, everyone? This is Matt Mrozik, and this will be one of two review videos tonight. First one is brought to you by Joe Do Couto out of Canada. This is his quarter scale Deadpool, which was sculpted by Sheridan Doose. And if you don't know Sheridan Doose, do yourself a favor and look him up. He sculpted that massive beast kit that's up on the desk, the huge Thor kit that I've purchased, painted before, this very popular Silver Surfer and stuff. And he doesn't disappoint with this sculpt either. It's done very well. And there's another contributor, Peter Hall, sculpted the Iron Man head, which is in the base. So I contacted Joe about this kit a couple weeks ago, and he's like, hey, if I send you one to paint for me, I'll give you a kit. It's like, all right, deal. So this is actually one of two that I have. So I'm just going to show you one because they're exactly the same. Now, these came from Canada. Packing was excellent. Nothing was broken. Packed very well. It got here really quick, actually. I think initially it was supposed to get here like on Wednesday, and it showed up today. So one thing I like about what Joe's doing is he's hiring really good sculptors. He's having Ownage print a lot of these pieces. If he's the producer, meaning he hires a sculptor, he does the printing and stuff. So he'll hire a sculptor, have Ownage print it, but he's doing all this molding and casting in-house, which is great because it makes these customs more accessible to people, because they're shipping from Canada. So if you're in the US, check out Joe Do Couto's page. I'll put a link down below. But he's got some cool stuff. One of his kits that he's done in the past that was also sculpted by Sheridan Doose was the Neighborhood Batman, which he's in the process of remastering because the first time he did it, the way it goes together is a little tricky, and I actually have one in my queue to do eventually. But anyway, back to this kit. So I've already actually played with this a little bit, and it's done extremely well. Like I said, Joe does all his own molding and casting in-house. Top quality stuff here. Now this is a one-man team. This isn't a factory where they have molders and casters cleaning up everything for you. So this is a true garage kit. This is Joe in his garage pouring resin into molds. But the resin is very high quality. The casting is excellent, especially for a true garage kit. Cleanup is minimal, and the fit is excellent. I've already fit them together and kind of looked at them. So one thing Joe did a little different on the two he sent me is he installed an LED, and he actually it's pre-wired, and it's meant to light up Iron Man's eyes. So right now, what it looks like Joe did is, this is obviously a one-piece mold, meaning the mold is just one piece, and the relief sculpt is down the bottom of the mold. He pours the resin in. So what it looks like what he did is he just basically poured clear resin in the Iron Man portion of the mold, and then on top of that poured the solid resin. So he's like, I've never done this before. I hope it works. So as long as the LED is functional, it should work just fine. The only thing I would suggest, Joe, in the future, if you decide to do this again, add a resistor, because I'll have to do that. Because LEDs, even with a 9-volt battery, it'll work, but without a resistor over time, it'll put too much strain on that one LED. And since it's molded into the base, once it goes out, that's it. There's no going back unless you want to drill it out and yank it out. So that comes to my second point. Figure out a way to either leave this where you want the LED to install, just leave it hollow. Leave that option for the builder or the painter to install a LED, or just make sure that the space is hollow. Very similar like you did here for the battery. Just do the same thing for you where you want the LED, and that makes the LED replaceable if it ever does burn out. Because LEDs can fail over time, so they're not foolproof. But anyway, so those are my only really two suggestions for the whole kit. Other than that, it's very, very good. The base is really cool. It's full of skulls, Iron Man, spent shells. So Iron Man's the only superhero that's down here on the bottom that I can tell. Everything else is just skulls, which is cool. And the other tricky part was figuring out how he stands on the base, because there's no there's no footprints sculpted into the base. So I had to message Joe, like, how does he actually stand on there? He told me. So like I do with what I like to do with every kit, I like to show you all the pieces and how it goes together. So I'm going to reduce my exposure here just a little bit. Getting blown out. Let's try that. That's probably a little bit better. Let's see the details better. He's a good size too, and he's a good size, yet he doesn't take up a ton of space. So the base by itself, without anything on it, is right at 11 inches. So perfect for a 12-inch shelf. And like I said, that fits excellent. So first I'm going to do is put, actually put this, I'll leave that right there. Put the boots in. I'll bring the castings a little bit closer so you can see. So here's the legs. done extremely well. There's a bit of a, it's not like with any garage kit, you're gonna have a mold line. There's one there, but Joe's already cleaned it up a little bit, which is nice. And he didn't go too crazy with the cleanup. That's one thing I hate, is when producers try to clean up the mold lines too much. I'd rather have it there and let me deal with it rather than trying to have to go back and re-sculpt details. Just because, you know, even if it's a bad mold line, sometimes maybe guys may try to hide that. Not that Joe's trying to do that at all, because this looks really good. I'd rather have to deal with a slip mold myself or a miss mold, just because that way I know where the starting point is of the repair, rather than trying to fix something that someone's done overdone. There's the legs. Here's the torso. Sheridan Sculpted really comes out here. Great muscle tone, lots of definition. Again, minimal mold line to deal with. All the pouches are numbered, and I didn't notice that they were numbered on the pouch. Oh yeah, they are. I didn't even notice. I just kind of started fitting them around. But they only fit in one specific area. So very nicely done. Great muscle tone. Arms. Again, great muscle tone. Sheridan has become one of my favorite sculptors. Him and Kafir are just like awesome. And then Miguel, if you don't know Miguel, who's been doing some really nice work too. Great work here. It only comes with one head, the masked head, which is great. And I've said this before, I could care less about switch outs. It just needs more crap I have to find a place to display or store. So you just get the masked head, which I'm perfectly fine with. I'm not a big fan of his unmasked portrait anyway, because to me this just screams Deadpool. This sculpt is a little different. It's a little more a little more caricature than I would say Deadpool. His face is very narrow. And elongated this way, so it's a little more like characterization, if I can spit that out, of Deadpool, which is cool. So it's got his own style. It's got this kind of little point in the back of his hood. Shows you the arms, and then his right hand only has the option of holding a shotgun, double barrel short shotgun, which is great, sawed-off shotgun. Very nicely done, great detail. Again, the casting is done very well, Joe, and it looks like he went in there and fixed a couple of bubbles for me. There are a few little bubbles here and there, but again, I never complain about bubbles. I don't complain about mold lines, and those are about the only two things. I do complain if there's a big mismold, like there's a big step. That's where I start to get a little could have been worked on, or if I can tell the molds are running bad, and you get a piece and you're picking out pieces of silicone, that tells you the mold's past its run. It's time to remold the piece or retire the piece, because if I got this base and there was a piece of like silicone in this eye, well, the next base that would be pulled out of that mold, this eye would be solid, because the silicone is no longer there to fill the void. So those are like my slip molds and molds that are out of date or worn out. Those are the only two things I complain about in garage kits. Bubbles are part of the game. Mold lines are part of the game. There's you got sand and prep. It's part of the gig. And then you have two left hands, and your options for those are, where's the other one? I just had it. Hold on, I got one here. What did I do with the other one? Where are you? Well, the first one is him holding a taco, which I just absolutely love. And Joe was telling me that was Sheridan's idea. And then he's got another one that's holding a pistol. What did I do with it? It's over here somewhere. Oh, work area. Oh, there it is. It's underneath the katanas in my kit. And the other one is he's holding I'm not sure if that's a 357 Magnum. I'm not a gun guy, so is that a 357 Magnum? It's a big gun. So that's the other. So that's the only switch out, which is great, because now you don't have like three heads hanging around or a bunch of hands that you have to store. The boots are pretty simple. Nice texture on the bottom. Not that you're going to see that, but really well done. The katanas are, again, real simple. They don't come out or anything. They don't get held in the hands. They just go on the back. And they're, it's a simple detail, but they look good. I like how the katanas come through the sheaths. So you have, these will get painted bare metal. So it looks like it's going through. What else? And there's a bunch of pouches, and they're all very similar, but they're done well. They're simple. There's like no stitching detail or anything, but it's okay. It doesn't need to be completely hyper detailed. So those look really good. And again, there's a little bit of flashing here. few bubbles here and there that are easy to fix, but I'd say overall casting is a solid 8.5, 9 out of 10 easily. The only thing that would make it a 10, and that I've never, even on some of the stuff the stuff I get from Ownage, I don't know if I'd ever give anything a perfect 10. Meaning a 10 is like I get the kit and it's ready to paint. I've never had that, not once. Even on the Alpha 3 Captain America, I thought I did. Nope. The Doocey Beast, nope. The Doocey Thor, nope. They all have a little bit of work that needs to be done. There's a mold line that needs a little bit of work, so I'm giving this like an 8.5, 9. Like I said, Joe does excellent work, so really good job here. So let's put them together. Like I said, now I haven't done any cleanup on this, so the fit's excellent as it is, but there will be, like right now, like the torso doesn't fit down all the way on the hips because I haven't cleaned anything up. So we got like the pour tab where Joe pours the resin into the mold. That needs to be cleaned up, it's just, and it's simple. That's a simple little 2-minute sanding, and then they'll fit perfectly. So this is no cleanup, but from what I see, it fits excellent. So the foot goes here, and the feet only fit in one particular spot. And then this guy, and the way he stands on here, he simply just stands like on Iron Man's head and those two skulls. So anyone who has this or is going to hire someone to maybe build or paint this for you, I highly suggest adding a rod. Sorry, I stepped on my mic and it came off. Adding a rod through the left leg, through the back heel into the base. That's really easy to do. I wouldn't do through Iron Man's head. I think this one and mine are the only two with the light up feature right now. I guess it's an experiment to see if it works. Which it should be. If the LED works, it should work. If the Iron Man head doesn't light up, feel free to put a hole through that too. But then when you take it off the base, there's a hole in Iron Man's head. But I don't know if that's a big deal to you or not. But that's another option. So now I'm gonna do is put all the pouches on the bottom here, and they're numbered. So like this is number 7. Oh nope, sorry, it goes on the waist. On here, just goes in the knife, and it goes right there. Again, molded really nicely to the leg and to the hip here. Fits very well. This is number 11. Number 11. And somebody said I had to push in pretty hard because the fit is so good. I was having to kind of push him in there pretty hard to get him to fit, which is a good problem to have. This is 13. Release goes over here. Yeah. But they conformed his legs extremely well. Just like that. So there's his legs on the base. I'm not going to spin too fast because he'll fall over because he's not, pinned in there. All right. So now I'm going to do the pouches on the waist kind of off the base here. So number 7, sorry. Again, fits right in there. And like on these guys, I can see where the pour tabs are at the bottom of the base, or at the bottom of the pouches here. And that's where my bubbles are. So typically, I'm not a mold maker or a caster, but just from my little bit of knowledge, typically bubbles will be at the top of the piece if they vacuum the resin, they're sucking air out, they're pulling the bubbles out. If they're pressure casting, then the bubbles are usually forced into the piece, and unless you do a lot of heavy aggressive sanding, you won't see any bubbles. So if you're vacuuming, you're pulling air out of the chamber, and you're trying to draw as much air out of the resin you can, and that's when the bubbles come to the top. And sometimes they just don't come out all the way, which is no big deal. If you're pressure casting, you're pushing air into the resin, you're trying to get all that stuff squeezed in together. I don't know if there's an advantage or disadvantage to either method. I don't know because I'm not a molder caster. Maybe Joe can chime in and give his opinions, but I don't know. So number 8, and again, these all fit in very, very well. The only other little crit I have, and this is not Joe, this is just in the Sculpt. This pouch right here is the only one that doesn't come in and kind of follow along the torso right here. So I don't know why Sheridan decided to do that. That's the only pouch that doesn't do that. The other ones do. I mean, that's not a huge deal, but I just noticed it because the other ones did. These all go in. I've got these just kind of lined up to go in where they go. Again, fit is excellent. casting is done very well. Okay, and then, so the great thing about this is that basically, since the way this is designed, he can be put together as one solid piece. Adjust my exposure again here. There we go. So in the end, you can epoxy his legs, his torso. I'll probably even epoxy his arms in instead of making them removable. Partially because this part of his arm is clothed, and there's a slight seam there. I'm actually going to take this off because this arm right now is so tight, I have to give it a good squeeze to get it to go in there. And even there, even without any cleanup, it's a pretty damn good fit. I mean, I could technically get away with this and just put a little filler in there. I know with a little bit of work, a little bit of sanding on the key and stuff, I can get that to fit even tighter. I will have to do some seam work there, but not much. It'll be very minimal. So again, good job. Oop, don't throw the pouch away. I need that. Landed it in the trash. And then let's do the other arm, the taco arm. Just like that. This one's not quite as tight, but again, very good fit. So if you see anything loose, it's just because it hasn't been cleaned up yet. So that looks really good. See if we can frame. Yeah, we're in frame. And then let's throw on his shotgun hand. So this one only has the one option, the shotgun. I'll get you a measurement there. And I personally like the taco. I think that's just Deadpool for you right there, taco. I mean, you can have the other gun, but come on now. And then the katanas. Now he's, you know, if you weren't going to be spinning him around and moving around, he's actually pretty stable on the base as is without being pinned, but it's always a good idea to attach your subject to the base. So there he is. Really, really well done. Just a cool sculpted Deadpool, man. I love it. A little beefier on the top end. You know, his biceps are kind of bulging. You know, it's a Doosey sculpt. So he's got the Doosey crotch, the big bulge in the pants. His Thor sculpt is notoriously famous for the big bulge. So with the shotgun in his hands, it's right about, I'm going to say 19 inches. I'm just kind of guessing. So from here to here is about 19 inches. So you put them on a 12-inch shelf like this, or you can have them sticking out a little bit. So that would be like the depth that wise. And then again, of course, you got like the 11-inch depth this way. So Deadpool himself, if I just say without the base, he's right at, say right at 19 inches, right about here, just a hair above 19 inches. And total overall height on the base, you're looking at, 22 inches. So your typical 22 to 23 inch height for a quarter scale statue on a base. I'm starting to see that most statues are trying to stay under that 2 foot mark. If it's a really big piece to get the piece crouching, or something like that to keep it on that 2 foot. I guess the best of case is kind of like the golden rule. If it can fit it the best of, people like it. So really cool piece. So I'm going to spin him around without him falling apart. The only reason he fall apart is if he falls off the base. I like his pose, just kind of chilling back on this foot here. He's like, hey man, don't mess with me, I'm eating a taco. Don't mess with me while I'm eating a taco. And then I'll throw it in the other hand just so you can see it. Actually, let's do that just kind of straight on so you can see, like, down barrel, what he looks like. Like, the cock of his head is perfect. He's like, you talking to me? You talking to me? So yeah, cool. And then here he is with the I'm guessing a 357 Magnum. I have no clue. In this hand, he's just got it cocked out like what's going on? Like, hey, you want some of this? But there you go. Quarter scale Deadpool by Joe Do Couto. I'll put his contact information down below. Give him a shout. I can't remember how much he said this was. I want to say 500, but I could be wrong. So yeah, it's, you know, your typical quarter scale statue. So I'm gonna paint this one up for Joe. Hopefully I'll get it done in the next 2 months. Joe, that's my goal. I have a lot of projects on the bench right now, but thanks for the trade, man. This is a great deal in my opinion. I get to paint one for you, and I'll probably paint mine at the same time when I get to them, or who knows. But anyway, thanks for the deal. Thanks for the trade. And I like deals like that because a lot of times, like I tell people, I just want to build and paint. I don't need a collection of stuff to look at. I just want the experience of building and painting a lot of these pieces. So if I can do a trade, I'm more than happy to do that, and I can fit in my schedule. So it's a win-win for everyone because I get the experience of painting one or two of these pieces. Someone gets one in their collection. So I love it. So there you go. Hope you guys like that video review. Highly recommend this piece. I don't know about the light up feature. I guess you'd have to ask Joe if that's something he will include in his normal price. I don't know. I don't want to speak for him. I think, like I said, he just did it on these two as an experiment. The photo he showed me was just this Iron Man was a solid and painted solid, but obviously the eyes would light up. So anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling, and you guys check it out. Check out Joe's stuff, and as always, thanks for watching. It's Matt Mrozek. Catch you guys later.